welcome to FrannyDoMakes. My name is Fran. This is my little channel where I will talk about what I make over the last couple of weeks, primarily knitting, sometimes some crochet, sometimes some cross stitch, sometimes some sewing. So welcome. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome. It's been 2 weeks since my last episode. I'm not quite sure which number it is, but I can't bother counting anymore. It's coming up to the 1 year anniversary, podiversary, channel, I don't know what you call it anyway, a year since I started the channel. So yeah, it's all going well. So yes, welcome. As I said, my name is Fran. I am coming to you today from a very sunny, in fact, but very cold Leeds in the north of England in West Yorkshire. If you would like to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me in the following places. So I am at FrannyDoMakes on Instagram and on Ravelry. I have a Facebook page, which is FrannyDo page on Facebook, and all the details of anything that I've mentioned in the podcast. So patterns, yarns, any other makers, so project bags, etc. will all be linked on the show notes, which you will find on the website, which is www.frannydo.co.uk. And there are a few other things on there, so there's some free downloads for the project cards, which I show, and like a few, there's a crochet pattern and a like a vanilla sock pattern. Right, so if you'd like to talk some knitting, then please grab a cup of whatever you fancy and a project if you're going to knit along with me, and let's have a chat. Okay, so I will start with what's on the wall. To be honest, I don't think I've changed it from the last time. So this is the Twists and Turns, which was this year's, not this year's, last year's, because we're in a new year, aren't we? Last year's Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West. So there you go. I have today a couple of finished objects. I have some whips, some works in progress, and I have a few other things, mainly stash busting and organisational stuff. I've not bought anything, I'm being really good. So in my beautiful I bought this mug for my sister and bought one for myself at the same time. So it's a suffragette inspired mug, and in it I have a peach soda, which was in my Bird and Blend advent calendar, and it's very nice. So first up, we will talk about what I'm wearing, which is my first finished object, which is my Magpie Tendency. This is a pattern by Skeinanigans. It's a pattern intended to use up that beautiful one skein of yarn that you've bought from a place that you really loved, or is a memory of something, or those single skeins that you collect because they're so pretty and you can't resist them. So mine is made out of Truly Hooked Bobble Sock. So it's that slub textured yarn in the colour Light Fury. I'll stand here, you can see. So I made, get my card, I made the size C, and I chose option 2, which was this colour block where you have the neck in one colour, the shoulders and the sleeves and the bind off. I went for the short sleeve option, and it's meant to be a cropped sweater, but I am quite long bodied, so I added 4 extra repeats of the pattern, so about this much, because otherwise it would have been up here and that's too short for me. So yep, so that's where I'm at of the length. So let me get back into frame so you can see me. So I didn't use the whole of the skein. I had this much left, which is 14 grams, so almost all of it. So 86 grams of the main colour, which works out at 344 metres. And I must admit, I love it. I think it's come out gorgeous. So this is truly hooked. This part was some leftovers I had from my shawlography shawl, which was some botanical yarns in a fluorescent pink. But as there's the fluorescent pink within the pattern, I think it picks that up quite nicely. So it was such an easy pattern to follow. It's really well written. There's lots of mark your own pace kind of areas. So tally charts and ticking boxes and things. So if you're following the pattern, you can see how many repeats you've done. It's very size inclusive and it's quite adaptable, I would say. And you block the hell out of it because it's done on a really large gauge. So I used 5.5 and 6.5mm needles. I use my Chow Goose. So this yarn is, as I said, the bobble sock. It's a 90% merino and a 10% nylon. I had, like I said, I'd put it on hold while I casted all my advent things, and literally all I had to do was these two arm bits. So I don't know why. I mean, it took me an hour to finish it off. So yeah, it's lovely. It's ever so soft and gorgeous. The yarn is lovely. It's slightly darker at the top than it is at the bottom, you know, with these black bits, but that's the nature of hand-dyed yarns and I don't mind. I couldn't have changed that. So yes, I blocked it out to the measurements. I think it did come out slightly shorter, or was it narrower? I think it was slightly narrower, but I've got enough ease, I think, for my liking. I could do with putting a little tag in the back because there's one stitch that's a bit sort of pulled in the back and there's a bit of a hole. So I'd rather that was on the back than on the front. But I mean, it's such a loose gauge, I don't think you can really notice it anyway. So I've just got a little sort of neutral vest top on underneath. I could wear a black or a white or a pink or whatever colour I fancied. But I thought this would show up the yarn the best. And overall, I'm really pleased with it. I think I will wear this quite a bit. It's my kind of shape. I like the drop shoulder. It's got a nice neckline. It's not too high. And just that little thin bit of an I-cord. So that's an I-cord that you work there and then you knit off it. And likewise, you bind off with an I-cord. But yes, I would highly recommend it if you've got that single skein that you don't know what to do with, but you love it so much that you want to wear it all the time and you don't just want to use it for socks, then yes, I would highly recommend this pattern. I did find knitting the yarn on the larger needles a little bit fiddly, especially picking up and working magic loop. If I'd have had a smaller circumference, I would have used that for the armholes because it was a bit fiddly. And I think I could have done with maybe some wooden or alternate rather than my Chow Go metal ones for this bit, but I didn't have any, so it's fine. It was just a bit slippy because it was such a large gauge. I don't think I've got anything else to say about it. Colour blocks. So yeah, there's different options with the colour blocking. You can either oh, I've got the pattern here somewhere. So yeah, you can either go all the way down to here with the contrast colour and the sleeves, or to show you everything. Or this is the option that I chose. Well, obviously hers is a lot shorter than mine, but my body is a lot longer than hers. Or there's just a single colour version as well. So obviously there's long, short sleeves, you can have it cropped, not cropped. So it's pretty much use what yarn you've got and make it work, I suppose. So yeah, I could have done longer sleeves, but I think I like how it is there. I like just that little trim of the pink on the end. So yes, highly recommend knit it. So next up is a pair of socks that I have also finished. So this is 2 off my 2022 whips. So this is just a pair of vanilla socks that were my Halloween yarn that I bought. So these are, I call them sort of witches stockings because that's the name of the colourway. So these are the colourway, this is the yarn from Lay Family Yarns, which was a sock set, sort of Halloween based because it was Witches Stockings, Mary it was called, inspired by Hocus Pocus. That's what I was trying to get out. So you got the main colour and then you got 3 10-gram minis, so this dark grey stroke black, this orange and this purple. So I knit these on a 2.25 needle. I did toe up, so Turkish cast on, and I increased to 64 stitches, yep. And then I knit an extra row of the purple, and then I started this. So I'd got to about here on the first sock, and then I'd kind of left it, and it was just sitting away in the project bag. So I picked them up and I just knit all the way up to the top in stockinette, and then I added a 2x2 rib in the black and cast off with an elastic bind off. And then for a change I decided to do an afterthought heel. Did I use a specific pattern? I looked at a few different ones, so I looked at Kirby Werby's and I looked at the Chili Dog for this part of it, so to close up. So I picked up a couple of extra stitches in the corner and then decreased them on the first row. But they fit really nicely. They're a bit longer than the other because I wanted to use pretty much all of the yarn. I had the tiniest amount left. So are they the same? One looks slightly longer than the other, but yeah, I'm really pleased with them. I think the yarn is beautiful, and yeah, they fit really nice. So they're done, blocked. I think I've got some ends to snip off, but then they're sewn in, so they're all done. It's lovely and drapey, they're so soft. There you go. No pattern, just a vanilla sock. I was going to do a pattern and then I couldn't be bothered, or I couldn't pick one that I fancied. So yeah, there we go. Lovely. So I'll take those off the blockers because they're done. They can go in the box. So that's my other finished object. So next we will go on to... Did I say anything else? Oh, I did 2 plain rows of knitting on my heels before I started the decreases, until I got to 12 and then I kitchened. And that seemed to work quite well, so I'll remember that. And I quite enjoyed doing the afterthought heel. And it used up all of the main colour of the yarn, which sometimes I end up with that little bit left, and there's no need for it, is there? They're just a bit longer than I normally have them. So, but there we go. Right, so going on to my works in progress. I've done some work on my mitered square blanket. Now, I honestly can't remember which squares I'd done last time. But I've probably done about 14 because I've done one every day. So I've done this one, I think that's Kate Celine, that's Lockwood Fibres, that's Kate Celine, Fibre Fox, Lockwood Fibres, Castleview Yarns, I don't know what that one is. No idea, the orange. That's Castleview Yarns, that's Lockwood Fibres, that's Kate Celine, that's the Fibre Fox, that's Castleview Yarns, that's from this year's advent, that's Ducky Darlings, that's Kate Celine, that's Ducky Darlings, that must be Castleview Yarns. So yes, I've done well in doing one every day. I am weaving in my ends as I go, so I have no ends to see there. It's lovely and neat. And just to recap, for my squares, they are 25 stitches by 25 stitches. I am doing the decreases on the right side. I used the pattern which was the Mitered Square Blanket by Martine Ellis, or Mitered Square Knitted Patchwork Recipe, that's what it's called, by Martine Ellis, who is also Martine Makes, I believe. And so at the start of every row I knit the first stitch through the back loop, and at the end of the row I do a yarn or a slip on with the yarn in front, so I get a nice neat edge on the top and it keeps it nice and straight, and then it's really easy to pick up for the next one. So I'm kind of going, I sort of go around and then across the top on every one, so it's sort of building up a square as we go. So I'm trying not to do duplicates of the colours as yet, so I have my basket of 10g minis, and if I've used them I put them in here, and if I've used them and they've got enough left to do another square, so I can get a square done out of 5g or just under, so I'm popping them in there, and then when I've got a bit further, when they're all used up and I've just got these, I'll use them again. And I've still got some 20g ones that I could halve up and use some in there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. Just doing one a day is just enough to get your knitting done for the day. Okay. The rest of the things I've not really done a lot of because I was finished off those socks and I was finishing this off. But I have done a bit on my Lapuf cardigan, although it doesn't look like much. So I'm still doing the increases for the sleeves. I've kept this in two, so this is the Lapuf cardigan by Beta Jezek. I'll put it down here because I can never remember how to say her name, but it's Hedgehog Fibres. So it's a cardigan. I don't think it has buttons, it's just an open cardigan, and it fades from the top down, and it's done fingering weight held double. But you fade them by using a fade, but by holding two of the same colour, then dropping one and picking up another of the next colour, then dropping the original and doing two of this, and then so on. So I am at 1, 2, I've got 7 more repeats, and then I'll have done the increases. And I think I'm gonna, how much more have I got left of this yarn. Yeah. So I've got this much left. I'm going from the inside and the outside of my first colour. So I might weigh it and see what I've got left. But I was going to try and get to the underarm before I split, and then I would start the fade down, because that's the look I liked of the other examples that I'd seen. Oh, is it here? Hang on. Oh no, I've just put hedgehog fibres. So the yarn I'm using is Pixie Yarn's Barefoot Fade. So my next colour is this, and then the colour after that is this, and then the colour after that is this, and then the final, oh no, it's that, and then that's the final colour. There we go. And that's living in this bag, which is, I don't know where it's from, but it's a large corduroy bag, which is just a nice size for it. So that's my Lapuf cardigan. There's also a sweater as well, which looks lovely. So I'll probably do the poofy sleeves, because I kind of like that. But it looks going to be lovely and warm. So that's that Lapuf cardigan. I have done a little bit of work on my festive cheer cowl with my advent. So here's how it's looking so far. So I'm onto this pink, which I think is Glinda. And then the next one is another pinkish one, I believe. It's this one, which has a few speckles on it, which is lovely. Which I'm enjoying the pattern because it's nice and simple. It's nice for like TV knitting, but it makes my hands hurt if I do it for too long. I don't know whether it's because it's getting quite cumbersome now, because you're going round and round, and then it like swizzles all the work that you've already done, and I have to poke the needle to like shufty up all the stitches, and then it gives me a bit of a dint in my finger and makes my finger hurt. But I'm not in a rush to finish it. I'll do a bit here and there. And the next thing, not technically a work in progress as yet, but I have done my swatch for my Felix Pullover, which hopefully I will get cast on over the next 2 weeks and get that started. So this is my swatch. It's turned out quite nice. It is quite loose, but it is an iron weight, and I don't suppose I would want it too thick. And I need to make my yarn go as far as possible. So this yarn is the Wendy Aran with wool tweed. It's a big 400 gram, I haven't got the ball with me, a big 400 gram 800 metre ball that I got from the local garden centre. And it's this lovely with the tweedy bits in it. There we go. So it's blocked out to gauge. I'm quite happy with that, with the recommended needles. So yeah, that'll be upcoming. But I'm glad that the swatch worked up fine. So that's all the knitting, but I have got some other knitting related things. So first of all, it's technically an acquisition. But it's not yarn, so it's okay. So I did used to keep my notions in this old makeup bag, but as you can see, it's got a black inside, and I couldn't find things in it. If it was dark, I just couldn't find things in it. And I'd watched Wool Needle's Hands tailor. I'd watched her, she'd done a midweek ramble, I think, about what's in her notions pouch, and she had this sort of jewellery wrap, I think it was, like a fold-up jewellery wrap, and it had little pockets in it that were like see-through, and I looked everywhere to try and find something like that, but I couldn't find anything that was suitable, and they all seemed quite big and bulky, the ones that I did find that were like makeup bags. So instead I had a look and thought, oh, I'd seen these pencil cases. So I looked in my project bag and thought, what have I got in my notions pouch? What have I got that I need to be able to get to? So I chose this one. It's got a pocket in the front. I just got it off Amazon. You can get them all over. Basically, it's you can make it bigger by unzipping this zip. So I've got my needle gauge and ruler in the pocket in the front. I've got my Lego Loki hanging off there as my ring pull. So inside it's got a pocket that I've got inside. I always have a couple of crochet hooks in for if I drop a stitch. So I've got 3 different sizes. That one's really grubby and horrible. So 3 different sizes of those. I've got some stitch holders and I've got a cable needle. So they're in that clear zippy bag. Then there's this little bit that's for pens, I think, but it really holds my scissors. I've got a pen in there and my darning needles are in there. And then there's a little flap and you can put whatever's left. So I've got, they're my sock needles that I used for those socks. I've got my tape measure. These are my bulb stitch markers, and in here is all my fancy ones. I love it. Love it. It's brilliant. I can just hold this up if I'm sewing in ends. There's my scissors. There's my needle. Especially doing this blanket and sewing them in every time. I can see where it is. I can put them back. Because how many times have you lost these? Mine are always going down the side of the sofa, and these, and I can't tell you how many times these go on the floor. So yes, and I can see everything. I'll put a link to the one that I bought down below, but there's loads of them everywhere. And so yeah, you can zip up this bottom piece and then it keeps it a bit thinner. So yeah, it says, be young, be unique, special. You are 1 in a million. It's a bit cliched, isn't it? But anyway. But yeah. And I've got Loki on there. I can just tuck him in there, look. But yeah. I'm really pleased that I got that. It was a good buy. I'm happy with myself. Right, the other thing that I've done. Now this took some work, but I have gone through all my yarn and I've inventoried everything. So I made myself a Google Sheets and I have a stash. So I'm going to log all the stash that I use. These don't count, unfortunately, because they were already cast on. So I have a full list. This is all the hand-dyed yarn. I mean, it's ridiculous. Look at it all. How much I've got. I'm going to de-stash some. I have a friend who's new to knitting and she's just started knitting socks. So I've got a little pack here of stuff that I'm de-stashing to her. She's getting my old Swift. And whatever I cast on, I can wipe it off and I can see how much I've used. But I've really got way too much that I can't be buying any yarn at the moment. Saying that, I am going to, what's it called, Yorkshire Yarn Fest in March, and I might buy something there, but I'm going to try and get something like a sweaters quantity if I get anything, rather than just fripperies. I've also logged all my commercial yarns and all my part skeins as well. which I have put in a bag, in a basket. I've taken out the ones that are solids because I might use those for some of the Stephen West socks. What else did I do? And then I've got a project wish list as well, which I've put on all the leftover whips from last year. Now I've got 2 ticked off, and then I have got a wish list for this year, which is as long as your arm, of things that I want to make. But all of these are to use the stash that I've got. So with that in mind, and having looked at all my part skeins, it does look like there is a bit of a colour family in here. There's a lot of blue, greens, purples and sort of tealy colours, as well as some little bits with some neon in and stuff. So I thought I would put these together in a mild magic shawl. I've been wanting to make this pattern for a long time, and looking at the yarns that I've got, I think they'd go really nicely in one with some lovely pops. And there's an example of it there. I just think it'd be a nice ongoing project, and everyone I've seen who's made it has really enjoyed making it, and it's a great way to use up these bigger scraps that are not ones that I can just shove in my blanket. But I might come out with some that I can use in my blanket when I've done all that. So that might get cast on fairly soon. Oh, also, while I was doing the pull this out. While I was doing the inventory, I found these labels. I'll link it down below where I got them from. I can't remember what the website's called right now, but I basically weighed everything and made sure that I could put on how much grams I had on each one. Because I was thinking of making Vertices Unite, but I don't think enough is big enough to make one. And I've already got a Vertices Unite, so I thought maybe it'd be better if I could make something different. So, is that everything? Let me just check my notes. Yes, that's everything. Right, so hopefully I've got a new thing, a new little gadget that I can hopefully get files off my phone onto a memory card and then put that into the computer so that I can edit and export the videos better, because I was using my iPad to do all my editing and it's just not got enough memory to export the videos anymore, unless I literally delete everything off it, and I'm not going to do that. So I was going to work on my husband's camera, so I tried out having a go with it, because he's got a lovely SLR that he bought primarily for him to take pictures with, but also he said, oh, you can use it for your vlogging if you want. And I thought, oh well, yeah, I'll have a go. And we'd not tried using it for video, and it would get to about 3, 4, 5 minutes, then the screen would go green and it would turn off. I mean, when it was filming, all the quality was lovely, it was lovely, but it didn't work. So we might think about getting another body of the camera, but they're expensive, so we'll see. But I said that I would give him half if we're going to get one, because if I'm going to be using it, I'll probably use it more than he does anyway, so lovely. So that's everything. Let me know how you're getting on. Have you still got outstanding whips? I've still got quite a few to go. I'm not going to make as many socks, I think, this year. I've not got as many on the list, but you never know, do you? It's nice to have a sock on, but if I've got my mighty square, that is a bit of a relief, you know. Sometimes you're stuck on you're doing a pattern and you get a bit bored of doing the same thing. But I thought that's why I wanted to get the Mild Magic on, because there's different stitch patterns in that, and I'm going to have the Lapuf and the Felix, which are both quite stockinette heavy. And I don't have any pattern socks on the go either. Oh, I do have one sock that I could cast on the second sock for. Who knows? Anyway, I'll decide. But I am quite, now I've got these out, I'm quite itching to get this one done, or at least cast on. But yes, so thank you for joining me. I hope I haven't rambled too long. Where am I at? 36 minutes, it's not too bad. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a lovely 2 weeks till I see you next for the year. That'll be a year that we've been doing it, so if you've been with me from the start, thank you. And yeah, so welcome, like I said, any new subscribers, I'm glad that you have subscribed. If you've not, then please do click the subscribe button, like the video if you've liked it, leave me a comment with what you're working on. What's your stash like? Is it like mine? I thought I didn't have that bad a stash, but I mean, it's not so bad. I did used to have, on this top layer, I had loads of old acrylic that I just wasn't using anymore. And down at the bottom I had loads of chunky stuff. So I bagged it all up, 2 big shopping bags, and I took them into school and said, do you want to use it for knitting club? And they were like, yes please. So I feel like I've done a good deed. Then I've got some of that stash that I'm going to de-stash to Becky, and I might make a few more projects before I decide if I'm going to get rid of anything else. But yes, tell me how yours is looking. Are you wanting to de-stash a bit? I feel like I have to before I can warrant buying any more, because if you look at it and you think it's at least £15 for each of those hand dyed, and it's how much money is in that on that shelf. We've got an energy crisis. I can't commit to it anymore. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Right, so leave me a comment. like the video. Give me a subscribe if you want to. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a lovely 2 weeks. Happy knitting. Get some projects finished. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.